Switzerland, not in the Alps. The mountains are only 300 feet, a little bit more. And there is a little valley, and there, 1100, a few monks from the Black Forest came because noble people from this area gave money and gave land for the foundation of a Benedictine monastery. And this place was called Beinwil. Bein means leg, and Wil, that comes from village. That's the same, the tribe is villa, Latin. That means in our country, when a village is called Wil, or in Alsace Villa, that means that was already Roman settlements. That's an old city. Wil comes from villa. Beinwil, and that's interesting. We have this also in the coat of arms of our community. It's a black background and two white bones. Bein, leg, and Wil, this little village. This monastery was developing rather well. It was a narrow valley. It was not possible to have their farmland. They had a little bit forest. It was always a little monastery between 20 and 30 monks. And that's going on here from 1100 to 1648 is the place where both routes are coming together. And now let's begin with the other route, Maria Stein. The place where the monastery today is located, situated, was farmland. And there happened something that we cannot explain. And the legend tells us that on the place where the monastery now is located, a farmer's wife took care with her child of the cows. And then it was a summer day, and at noon, when it became hot, she went down to a cave, a natural cave, where it was cool. And let's take this one. There is the land, and there is the valley, and in the middle there is a cave. We have 3 different caves in the area of our monastery. And then she went to this cave, and she fell asleep. And when she woke up, the child was no longer there. And she was afraid that the child could have fallen down to the valley. And she climbed up again, and she had to run around a long distance, go to the valley. And here she found the child picking flowers. And the child said, "While I was falling, a wonderful lady was holding me, a wonderful lady with angels, and she said, I am Mary, the Mother of God. I want to be honored at this place." And immediately they started to make a chapel from this cave. It was hard to go down, and so later on they built here another chapel for those people who could not walk down, and a house for a priest. There were in Basel, the city of Basel, it's maybe 12 miles away from our place. Basel had before Reformation 11 monasteries, convents, male and female. And there were Augustinians who were taking care of the pilgrims here. In summer there was a lot to do. In winter, when there was nothing to do, they could go back to their monastery in the city and prepare themselves for the next pilgrimage season. Then we know 1529 there was the Reformation, and Basel decided to become Protestant. And so all the monasteries were closed, and it was no longer possible to have priests from Basel, and the people who changed the religion came and destroyed this chapel, the shrine, and destroyed also the other chapel. That was 1529. 12 years later something happened. We call it the first, or the child is the first miracle, and then happened the second miracle. There was a young man from the area. His family was living on a castle. You still can see the ruins of this castle. And he was also falling down this rock. And he was not totally saved. He broke his chin. But it was considered also as a miracle, and that's the reason why 12 years after the Reformation, pilgrimage re-began and never stopped since that time. But it was difficult to find priests for this place. And so the government of the Canton Solothurn, that's Switzerland, this little country, has 26 different states. The states where I come from, Canton Uri, and they are called Canton. Canton Uri has 37,000 inhabitants. It's an old state, The Canton Solothurn, the government, we belong to Solothurn, they were very interested that this shrine could exist and did not die. And in the meantime here, the monks had a rather hard life. They were a little bit increasing in numbers, and we say in a German proverb, they did not have enough to live, but they had too much to die. That means here they could not stay because it was not good. But then the government asked if the monks would be interested to take over the responsibility for the shrine. And now they said yes, and then both came together here in 1648. Then they started to build a church, a convent, library, and all these things. And they also were serving parishes around, and that went very well. 1648, the monks came. 1655, the church was, you got the benediction, and then it went very well. The first crisis came in 1798, French Revolution. We are very close to the French borders, and the main part of the sisters who have been, they made this little trip to France in the evening to have some digestive walk and so on. No, after a good supper, they went to France. It's just 10 minutes to walk. And then, we are the part of France that's at our border is Alsace. That's this part of France that changed. It was German, then it was French, then it was German, it was French. It was changing several times. And then, in France, every religious life was forbidden. It was not allowed to go to church, to be baptized, and so. The people from France came, because it's so close, to Maria Stein for Sunday Mass. They came to get married here, and they came to let baptize their children. And of course, the French soldiers did not like that. And that's the reason why 1798 French soldiers destroyed the monastery. They burned the library, they burned the choir stalls. And it's interesting, the main altar of our church was donated by Louis XIV, by Louis XIV. Why? In this time, Switzerland was not as huge as it is today, And the French, we call it the ambassador, the French council, lived in Solothurn, in the city of Solothurn. And the monks built the new monastery, and they did not have enough money for the main altar. And then the government of Solothurn said to them, write to the King of France. He is so wealthy. He could do something against the many sins he committed. Maybe good to pay your altar. And then it's a wonderful altar, and that's what the French soldiers did not touch. We don't know why. Maybe they were even royalists, also when they were, revolutionary men, or at least nationalists, because that came from France, so they didn't destroy it. Or maybe it just was too huge. We don't know exactly. Maybe the last one is the most normal explanation. 4 years later, the abbot had to buy back the monastery, and they had first to renovate it, because, everything was destroyed. And then they had renovated the church, and the monastery came back to a normal life. They had a little school, and that was the school where Father Brunner, who is very related to the Sisters of the Precious Blood, went to school. Today we would say it was a little high school. He went there to high school to be prepared. But about